Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People. In today's episode, my neighbor called the cops because we decided to clean our apartment. Entitled person thought their bagel was more important than mine. The woman who strangled my turtle, a lesson in forgiveness and change. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. My neighbor called the cops because we decided to clean our apartment. I am so glad that I found this sub because I'm dying to tell this story. So, my BF and I moved into an apartment in August. It's older, so the floors are super creaky. According to our lease, we're obligated to cover 90% of any room with carpet, except bathroom and kitchen, to help with noise. It turned out our apartment was previously managed as a dorm by the local college, so the floors already have a layer of super thin shitty carpet. We also laid down more rugs to help with noise cancellation. Our downstairs neighbor moves in about a month later, and within a month of that, starts banging on her ceiling when we get too rowdy. The first couple times, it happened super late in the living room. Our apartments have the same plan. We were moving around after midnight the first time. Later she came to talk to us and asked us to keep it down at night. Sure, fair enough. The next time was when we walked it from the airport at 10 p.m. She came up, banged on the door, and talked over my explanation. I told her I was sorry and asked when she was hearing the noise, assuming it was just the cat running around at night. No, she tells me that she knows it's not the cat, she knows it's us, and she doesn't live alone. Okay, weird, but whatever. We started going to bed earlier as we settled into the apartment and our jobs, but the banging only continued. For months, she would hit her ceiling/our floor whenever we walked around. Bed at 10? Bang. Wake up at 5:30 for work? Bang. Sitting on the couch but decide you want snacks? Bang. Around Christmas, she comes up to our door again. My BF answered, and this time I recorded, and I'm so glad I did. This woman came up and looked my boyfriend in the eye and said, "You have to stop following me." What? I know it's not the cat or the dog or your GF, because I know your footsteps. I don't know how you figured it out, but you figured out how to listen to where I am and you're following me around my apartment and I'm sick of it. My BF calmly responded that she sounds crazy and that we don't care about her. She again reminded us that she doesn't live alone. Her BF is a small Latino man in his 60s who is very polite and has never said a word to us. Cool, she's insane, whatever. The banging continued with us stomping every time we heard it. She didn't like that, but it made it more fun. We'd already explained the situation to the landlord and the super, and they were on our side. Our town was the first in the US to be locked down under quarantine, so for the first few days, the banging gradually increased until one day this woman lost her mind. I'll admit that we're early risers on the weekends. On this particular Sunday, we ended up waking up super early, but not doing much for the first few hours. We drank some coffee and sat on the couch until almost 11. At that point, we decided to get up and clean the apartment. Homegirl went apeshit. She had to be running from one end of her apartment to the other. She's banging her ceiling so hard that we're convinced she's damaging it. At one point, I hear what sounds like muffled yelling after she followed me into the bedroom. We had plans that day, so we ignored her, finished cleaning, and started to leave. She must have been waiting for us to leave, because for the first time ever, she walked out of her apartment right as we go to her landing. I was holding the dog while waiting for my BF come down as she starts to descend the stairs. Of course, she decides to turn around and say something. Tell your boyfriend to cut it out. Me, cut what out? Walking? You're hitting the ceiling because of me and the dog moving, not him. CB continues to spew some other dumb shit as my boyfriend gets down to me. She proceeded to stay exactly 3 steps ahead of him, slowing us all the way down the stairs. She tried to block us going out the door at the bottom, but backed off when he just didn't stop moving. She's continuing to yell at him all the way to the parking lot. Of myself and my boyfriend, he's typically the hothead while I'm the calm one. Amazingly, he kept his calm the whole time, calling her only a crazy lady and ignoring her as he walked past her and her car to the dumpster. As I passed her car, she decided to continue talking at me, and I was just pissed not to engage. CB, I'm serious, it's done. Me, okay, what do you want us to do, Crawl? I already told you we have a 60-pound dog, and we're all just walking around. CB, talking while I talked, so I don't hear everything, and you need to remember that I don't live alone. Me, okay, neither do I? You see my boyfriend right there, so what's your point? By the way, that's the third or fourth time you've said that, and that could be taken as a threat. CB, you think it's a threat? Fine, it is. Me, cool, I'm calling the cops. CB, okay, me too. We both call the cops and they pull up. They talk to her first and then come talk to us. I don't know what she told them, but when they came to talk to us, I told them everything she'd said and done for the past 6 months. The officer explained that it was a civil matter that would have to dealt with by the landlord, but assured us that they explained to her that it is perfectly acceptable to walk around your apartment at 11 a.m. on a Sunday. They also told her not to knock on our door ever again and that she's not allowed to bang on our floor over footsteps at any point. For a couple nights she got back at us by banging at 1:30 a.m. to wake us up. We had already reached out to our landlord again, and this time, he told us he'd see what her problem is. That's still not the last of his troubles with her though. We ended up talking to the people that live below her and telling them about the banging. It turns out, they've heard it this whole time and had no idea what it was. Now that they know, they've also reported her to the landlord. The banging has stopped, we don't expect her lease to be renewed, and we may end up in a better apartment in the next couple months. Edit, a few comments have tried to paint my neighbor as an innocent in this. I want to clarify that she made direct threats to me when I apologized and told her we'd take care of it. That was the first time she met me, and all I did was apologize and say we'd fix it. She was never trying to be friendly and work it out. We have never engaged her, we have never provoked her. My grandmother had a neighbor like that. Batshot crazy lady would stomp up the stairs and bang on door at 3 a.m. to complain about the noise. My grandmother would wake up and tell her that it wasn't her every single time. Eventually, she called the police. My grandmother showed her and the annoyed cop that showed up at her door camera footage of my grandmother frail senior cat getting out his zoom eyes before bed. Her cat is probably 15 pounds soaking wet and his claws were removed before she adopted him. Hardly a noise to call the police over. My downstairs neighbor is like this. The first time we moved in our flat she said she can hear us using the microwave and the microwave wasn't even unpacked. Then she kept sending us letters saying she can hear us flushing the loo and the TV. We talked to our landlord and he said she used to do the same thing to the previous tenants and she was going to the letting agency every week to complain about noise. The flat has indeed very thin floors and unfortunately I am quite heavy-footed, but to complain that she can hear us flushing the loo, that's another story. Safe to say that she stopped harassing us after I sent her a very lengthy letter back asking her to stop bullying us or I will take measures. Also one time she sent her mom to my door on a Sunday at 4 in the afternoon, I was having a nap, to complain that she can hear somebody banging on the floor. It was my partner playing a racing game and he was pressing the brake on his racing gear. Ugh, I feel for you. About 20 years ago, I lived above a crazy guy who would just bang on the ceiling over nothing and all day long. For just walking, it was crazy and completely stressed me out. Finally, the landlord evicted him. He was just too much. I felt like I couldn't even walk to my kitchen. I now live in an apartment on the first floor. I have little kids above me and can barely hear them. The floors here must be pretty thick. Even if I could, unless they were making the loudest noise ever, I would never bang on the ceiling. If you're stuck at home because of COVID-19, maybe it's time to learn a new skill. I hear tap dancing is fun. Entitled person thought their bagel was more important than mine. This happened a few years ago, but it still gets me so heated every time I think about it. I was in college at the time and I would often go to this on-campus coffee shop on my way to class to get coffee/food/finish schoolwork. One morning I go and get my bagel and put it in the toaster. There is only one toaster and you are responsible for your own toasting, and then I go to the bathroom. When I come back out, my raw untoasted bagel was sitting on the table next to the toaster and another bagel was in the toaster. So someone saw my bagel in there and thought nah f***ck this person's bagel and took it out and put their own in. The audacity, really. I didn't have enough time left before class to try and toast it again or even stick around to see what abomination of a person did this. So I had to take my untoasted bagel with me and carry that anger around all day. Who does that? I would have grabbed their bagel from the toaster and either tossed it in the trash, taken it for myself, or leave it on the floor, then left. I should have taken their bagel. OMG, you're so right. Maybe I'm just weird, but I wouldn't leave my food in public and go to the bathroom and just trust that no one would touch it. I would wait for my food. Not saying anyone should ever touch someone else's food, but in my experience you can rarely give people the benefit of the doubt anymore. When I was in college, you weren't supposed to put shoes in the dryer. Someone took out my wet clothes and put them on a table so they could dry their shoes. I was so pissed cause they must have done it right after I left. I took their shoes and threw them behind the dryer. I put my clothes back in the dryer and waited. I never saw the person. I hope they were very confused about where their shoes went. LOL. The woman who strangled my turtle, a lesson in forgiveness and change. Hey folks, today I have a story that starts off pretty distressing, but trust me, there's a wholesome twist at the end that I think you'll want to hear. A couple of years ago, I was living in a small apartment complex, and I had a pet turtle named Timmy. One day, I noticed Timmy was not in his tank. Panicked, I searched everywhere and finally found him in my neighbor's apartment, in the hands of a woman I'll call Karen. Karen was in the middle of what looked like an attempt to strangle Timmy with a piece of string. I screamed, took Timmy away from her, and confronted her. She said she was trying to rid the complex of unclean energies and thought Timmy was an evil spirit. Crazy, right? Fast forward to a few months ago, I received an unexpected knock on the door. It was Karen. She looked different, humbled even. Karen had gone through a mental health crisis that led her to some incredibly bizarre beliefs and actions, like what happened with Timmy. She had since received medical treatment and therapy and was now on a better path. She handed me a small package. It was a custom-made turtle habitat, way better than what I could have afforded on my own. Karen had taken up woodworking as a therapeutic hobby and had spent weeks creating it. I can't undo the past, she said, tears in her eyes, but I can try to make amends. While Timmy, thankfully, wasn't physically harmed back then, the incident had left me with bitterness and mistrust. Seeing Karen's genuine change and her act of kindness opened my eyes to the power of forgiveness and personal growth. I accepted her gift and her apology, and we've actually become friends since. Karen now volunteers at a local animal rescue and is using her woodworking skills to create shelters for homeless animals. So there you have it, even the most seemingly entitled people can change. Thanks for reading, and give your pets an extra hug for me today. I choose to believe this post because I want it to be true. Well, this is definitely one of the stories on the internet. Lots of questions and not a lot of answers. How did Karen even manage to get to Timmy? Like, did you leave the door unlocked? How did you find out it was Karen? Did you break into her apartment and that's how you found her strangling Timmy? Sad that Op is a karma farmer and has several posts like this, but it would be a nice story. How did she get into your apartment in the first place? That was never explained how she got the turtle. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.